What's up, everybody? It's Wick here, and I've been getting a lot of questions about where to find clearance at in these stores I'm finding them in. So I decided to make a quick PowerPoint little presentation here so I can collect my thoughts and show what I'm thinking here a bit easier. So the question I get asked the most is, where is the clearance? And it's such a hard question to answer because it matters on so much stuff. Check the end caps of all the aisles because a lot of stores they put their clearance on end caps because they want people to see it and they want it to move. But unfortunately, when it's in front of a lot of people, that means all the good stuff is usually gone before you get a chance to see it, unless you're going like every day, multiple times a day or something, right? So here, number two here, some of the best clearance is randomly in the aisles. So that's why you should walk up and down every aisle. Eventually you'll start learning that some aisles just aren't worth walking down. Good example would be like the lumber aisle in Lowe's. Probably not going to be buying clearance lumber, and usually it's just lumber. But the end caps of some of the lumber aisles could have clearance. I know there's a Home Depot somewhat close to me that down in lumber, just a random end cap where they put a lot of clearance. And I didn't know about this until fairly recently when an actual employee told me. So it brings us to the next thing. Ask employees if they have clearance sections or know of any good clearance. Word of mouth is great. Had a guy ask me, what are you looking for? And I'm like, well, I'm just looking around, maybe some clearance, see if you guys have any deals. And that's when he told me, hey, down there in lumber, there's an end cap. We've clearanced down a lot of lights and stuff. It's really cheap, really good deal. So go ahead and just ask the employees. If you're going in these stores enough, a lot of times they'll start recognizing you, and that's been the case with me. I try not to tell people I'm reselling. If they ask, sometimes people get nosy. It's like, what do you do with all this stuff? And usually I just say, well, I have a brother-in-law who's a contractor, and I usually just pass the stuff to him, or I just kind of do little white lies because people can get mad. Like if they know you're selling it, they'll be like, well, there's that guy that buys the clearance and makes money off us. Let's hide it and not tell him about it. I've seen it happen. So you just have to be careful about letting people know what you're doing because there's some nasty people out there. You can ask employees and management if they know when clearance prices will change as well. It's a great tactic to use if you start talking to a manager. Be like, hey, do you know when they're going to start marking this stuff down? A lot of stores, they have days. I know Target has certain days. I don't remember what day it is, but I know that it's like a Tuesday or a Thursday, and that's when they drop their prices. I know Lowe's, for example, they have a price changer that changes prices on a daily basis as clearance drops, except on the weekends. So it's probably best to look for clearance through the week. But yeah, ask employees or management. They might you can even get alerted. Like you say, hey, if you get in enough with them, say, hey, give me a text. They're like, oh yeah, sure, because a lot of management, they want to move clearance. They don't want it taking up their shelf space. They like, we need to get this moved so we can clear it out and put something else here. And again, it's all store dependent. All of this is store dependent based on different types of management and how they operate their store. Even the chain stores can be quite different from store to store. And every store is different, and you should take time to learn how they deal with their clearance. If you go into a retail store enough, you're going to start learning their patterns and how they deal with their clearance. My local Walmart, they don't mark anything down. It's very rare until after Christmas. That's when they'll mark stuff down. Some stuff they won't even mark down. And then 20 miles to the next Walmart, they'll discount everything and just 75-90% off because I guess the management wants it to move. So here's some lovely tips to remember. Scan or do a price check on clearance items to ensure they aren't at a lower price. This is so important. If you see some good clearance but it's just not quite low enough, have somebody check the price on a few things, or just go to one of those manual price checkers and give it a scan. You will be surprised how much stuff is actually so much lower than what it is, because a lot of stores, they don't update clearance. It's not a high priority on their list of stuff to do. So a lot of times prices don't get changed. So definitely check prices. If you find a good deal, make sure you get all of them. Find a good deal, look up in Top Stock, ask an employee to check to see if they have any more anywhere else, if this is it. Because so many times I've pulled stuff from Top Stock, or they'll be like, oh yeah, we got 10 more of these outside or over here on an end cap. So just because you find a good deal and you see one or two doesn't mean they don't have 10 more somewhere else. Consider talking to management about being alerted when clearance prices drop. Just talked about this a little bit. Yeah, if you can get in with a manager and they start sending you a text like, hey, we're dropping our prices, the amount of money you'll make if it's a good store with good clearance is going to be insane. So you don't want to bother people. And again, this, if you're talking to a manager, say, hey, I resell, let me know when clearance is, really you got to go in there, you got to talk to these people over time, become friendly with them, and then that's when you start popping the question. You just don't say, hey dude, let me talk to your manager, and then when the manager comes up like, hey, can you text me when the clearance drops? They're just going to be like, who is this guy? You need to build relationships. Be more aggressive during certain parts of the season and learn seasonal patterns. As far as Walmart goes, you can find clearance throughout the year at Walmart. But I've said this before, that if you wait until I find late August, September, October is when you really start finding good clearance, because they're trying to get a lot of space, trying to get all the old stuff out for the new Christmas season coming up, because they have so many sales during the holiday, and then they have to make room for all that stuff. And then all the stuff that doesn't sell during the holiday season, they will clearance after, and usually, right off, the prices aren't good. Some Walmarts will start getting really aggressive in January, and Lowe's, like for their Christmas clearance, it's like January 1st almost every year, where they just drop everything 75% off to 90% off. So if you're buying seasonal, like Christmas lights and stuff to sell the following year, which I do, I do thousands in sales buying Christmas stuff and then holding it all year. That's when you want to buy it. You want to be aware of when this stuff is going to drop so you can be there and get it. Here's something that maybe everyone can't do, just depends on where you live, but try to shop at stores with lower traffic. I live, I got country cities and towns around me, and they don't get as much traffic as some of these bigger cities. So I go and try to hit those, and that's where I find the best clearance, it seems. If you have a lower traffic store, there's just not enough people coming through that see the clearance, that want to buy the clearance, and there's probably not as much people trying to resell it. So definitely take the time to drive out to those places. It's probably going to be worth your time. And just because the price is driven down doesn't mean it will be in the future. What I mean by this is, if you scan something and you're like, oh, there's 45 sellers and the price is just insanely low, you got to think outside the box, because in 6 months everyone may be sold out of that if it's a good ranked item, and you can get yours in there and make a profit. I know everybody, their business model is not to hold stuff, they don't have space to hold, but if you can get to that point, you're going to make a lot more money. Like, trust me, being able to hold stuff and wait for the best time to sell it is just really is common sense. And I've made it a point to start renting a 2-car garage just so I have more space to hold clearance, Christmas stuff, Halloween, seasonal, and then I can sell it. And a good example is a little Stinger light bulb for mosquitoes. When I scanned these in back in January when I was at some Home Depots, they were, you're barely going to double your money on them. They were like $5 and they were selling for like 11 or something. Well, now they're selling for $25, so you're making about $15 per each one. So the profits, instead of making like $4 or $5 profit, you're making 3 times that. It's just because you held them until mosquito season. And a lot of people would have looked at that and been like, oh, this isn't really worth it, the rank's a little bit higher. You just got to think outside the box. Just always be doing that. So I get asked Also a lot, what stores should I be going to find clearance? And here's my favorite stores, and there's literally hundreds of stores you can go to other than this. But here's my top ones. You got Walmart, of course. Target's great. A Meijer. A lot of people don't have Meijer in their areas, but I'm sure you have similar stores that aren't like Meijer is like mostly like Midwest, and people further west probably don't have any Meijer, but I'm sure you have something similar. It's just like a Target or a Walmart, really, but they have great clearance. Walgreens, CVS, any pharmacy that's actually like a store too that sells hard goods, their clearance is insane, especially after Christmas. 90% off like toys and certain random products, so always check those. Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, home improvement stores, they clearance out stuff, and they sell stuff that people are always needing and looking for, so you can do well there. TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and those similar types of stores, they clearance pretty much everything, and you never know what they're going to have. Most of it's always new, and anything from shoes to clothing to hard goods, I found stuff there. Staples and Office Max, these are great too. You can find really good clearance there. I find there's a lot of price errors. So many times, like, you go in there and they'll have like an end cap with the wrong price, and technically they're supposed to sell you all of it for that price, but a lot of times they won't. Anyway, also these places have good rebate deals. If you can get a $100 rebate on something and sell it and make $100, it's definitely something you may want to do. Why not make a few extra $100 throughout the year by doing rebates? Definitely keep an eye out on these. I think they're underrated, honestly. Big Lots, Bargain Hunt, places like that do like the closeout reselling. There's Ollie's around here. There's all kinds of stores around the country that do that. You can always find good clearance there. Kohl's, I put Kohl's on here because I've sold a lot of stuff from Kohl's. For one, they clearance their clothing really low when it's out of season, so you can find good clothing. But if you look at things like their hats, their sandals, flip-flops, gloves, stuff like that are out of season, they'll go 90% off, and you can buy them. And a lot of times they're not on Amazon, but you can still flip them on eBay. I flipped a lot of Ninja Turtles hats. They were like $2, and I think I flipped them for $25 a piece. It did take 7-8 months probably to go through them all. I only had like 6, I don't know, but you can make money, so why not go into Kohl's? Sears and Kmart, they're not much of these left, but if you still got them around you, they do have Kmart more than Sears, I find, but you can get good clearance on Sears as well. But Kmart, before they're all gone, especially if they're going out of business, you can get really good deals. Bed Bath & Beyond, a lot of seasonal clearance after Christmas. Get a lot of like bed comforters and stuff like that actually do pretty well on Amazon. Certain ones of them, I sold some Star Wars ones recently and made some good money. Just all kinds of weird gifts and stuff that they'll clearance out. They'll do the 75% off and then take an additional 75% off eventually, and you can really find some stuff. And then here's Hobby Lobby. Hobby Lobby is, I don't find a lot of stuff. I have found something in there before, and Hobby Lobbies, I believe, are all over the country. But there's a lot of like shelves and picture frames, stuff like that you're not really going to make money on. But if you can catch like the art supplies and there's like models and weird stuff like that, you can do well. But I hope that answered some of your questions. People that are asking me, I know there's a lot of people that watch my channel, they're more knowledgeable than me in this stuff, so they don't need this information probably. But for those that do and appreciate it, please hit the thumbs up button for me. Please subscribe if you have not. And this has been Wick. Until next time.